Welcome to the Unconventional Wisdom Podcast with Ed Rempel, the show about the most effective methods to achieve financial security and freedom. Find out what really works. Insights are based on in-depth experience from a fee-for-service financial planner, tax accountant, Canada's #1 financial planner blogger, and your host, Ed Rempel. Exponential thinking, how major wealth happens. Your investments may grow a bit each year, but have you ever wondered how some people grow major wealth? Like instead of growing 10%, they could be 10 times larger. So many ordinary people build up millions of dollars without having a high income or inheritance. How does this happen? So in this post, what you're going to learn is, what is exponential thinking? What are some real life examples? How does the rule of 72 help you? What is exponential growth, or why is exponential growth all around us today when it wasn't decades ago? Why does investing for growth give you many times more than investing for income? Why is borrowing to invest so effective? And why should you learn to think exponentially? Hey, what is exponential thinking? So exponential thinking is simply doubling. So instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, you double each time. So 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. So counting to 10 linearly, you get to 10. So counting exponentially to doubling 10 times, you get to 1,024. So it's 10 times more, not 10% more. So exponential thinking is being aware that many things in your lives grow exponentially, not linearly. It's exponential growth that gives you large numbers over time. So humans evolved in a linear world, but it has become an exponential world. The tiger attacking you is coming at you at a linear speed, but now computer technology is expanding exponentially. So to understand the difference, linear thinking would be that if you take 30 steps, which put you about 30 yards away, with exponential thinking, your first step is 1 yard, second step 2 yards, third step 4 yards, etc. Every step is twice as far as the last step. After 30 of these exponential steps, you would have been 25 times around the earth. That's the difference. What are some real life examples? A simple example is a snowball rolling downhill. As it gets twice as wide, it's picking up twice as much snow. So the bigger it gets, the faster it grows. It only takes about a half a minute and it's getting quite large. So exponential growth is the power behind compound interest. Albert Einstein famously said, "Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it." A real-life example is Moore's Law. It's an observation made by Gordon Moore, the co-founder of Intel, in a 1965 paper. It states that the number of transistors on a microchip is roughly doubles every 2 years, so leading to an exponential increase in computing power while costs remain relatively stable or decrease. This has driven advancements in electronics, making devices faster, smaller, and more affordable over time. We have all experienced the exponential growth of computers since 1965. I remember being amazed at the first handheld calculator. At first, only huge companies had basic computers. I was one of the first people to get a home computer in a computer club in my 20s. With the Windows, computers became very common in both businesses and in homes. Then the internet gave us access to tons of information, allowed us fast communication. Then 20 years ago, most of us started having handheld devices. Now we have AI allowing exponentially fast thinking, and soon we're going to have humanoid robots providing us all kinds of services. So the point is that improving at that rate can only come from exponential thinking. Thinking of getting 10% better can never give you such explosive improvements. Now, how does this rule of 72 help you? Rule of 72, it's a good estimate to help you figure out exponential growth. It works for any exponential growth, such as thinking about your investments. So now the rule of 72 states that 72 divided by the rate of return is how many years it takes for your money to double. Okay, you do the math, it's actually 69, but 72 is easier for dividing. So now here's how long it takes to double your money with different rates of return. So I have a chart here, but you see, at 1%, it takes 72 years. At 2 years, 36 years. So you get to 5, it's 14 years. At 8%, it's 9 years. 10, it's 7 years. At 15% return, it's about 5 years. And then at 20%, it's down to 3.5 years. So that's how long it takes to double. And then you can see how many times you will double. Let's compare investments with 5% versus 10% growth with linear versus exponential growth. So with linear growth in 1 year, 100,000 investment grows by 5,000 at 5% or 10,000 at 10%. So you can have twice the growth. However, with compound growth over 30 years, the 5% investment doubles twice to about 400,000. While the 10,000 or the 10% investment doubles 4 times to about 1.6 million. With compound or exponential growth, you actually have 4 times as much money after 30 years. Now, why is exponential growth all around us today when it wasn't decades ago? We see exponential growth far more because the world is improving so much faster. There are new ideas and new inventions every day, while decades ago, they took much longer. So, for example, fixed income investors tend to be linear thinking. If your money doubles every 25 years, that is too long for us to think about how many times it will double during our working life. However, equity investors tend to be exponential thinkers. If your money doubles every 7 years, you can quickly see that it doubles, 3 times in 20 years and 4 times plus a bit in 30 years. So those are time periods your mind can easily understand. For more unconventional wisdom insights, follow this podcast and share it with your friends. I sometimes refer to a chart or image. Don't worry, if you want to see the chart, it's on my YouTube channel in this video with the same name. You can be the first to receive all my new podcasts by subscribing to my email list at www.edrempel.com. My services and costs are at edrempel.com/help. You can request a free 30-minute consultation at edrempel.com/talk or share feedback and topic ideas at edrempel.com/feedback. Now, why does investing for growth give you many times more than investing for income? Now, we've witnessed portfolios for many clients growing over many years. We've seen consistently that people who invest for growth have dramatically larger portfolios when they retire, which means they have a dramatically more comfortable retirement. For example, let's compare growth of different investors. Growth investors usually invest in equity portfolio stocks, which long-term have averaged 10% per year or more. Fixed income investors in bonds or GICs may get 4% today. A balanced portfolio that's half equities and half bonds should get about 7%. Now, if all 3 investors all have 100,000 at age 30 and retired at age 60, with the 3 different investments, here's how much this grows by the time they retire. So this excludes how much they invest every year, but clearly shows the growth investors retire so much more comfortably. So the fixed income, bond investor is 4%, takes 18 years to double. In the 30 years, they get 1.5 doubles. So their 100,000 becomes 300,000. So in a balanced investor, let's say they're making 7% a year, takes 10 years to double. In 30 years, they get 3 doubles. So it becomes 800,000. The stocks or the equity investor, let's say they make 10% a year. It doubles every 7 years. So now they get 4 doubles plus a bit in the 30 years. So their investment should be 1.6 or actually a bit higher than 1.6 million. So you see it's twice as much as what the balanced investors have. So income investors tend to invest for income and usually end up with portfolios similar to balanced investments. So they may make 7% a year while growth investors make 10% a year. Now, you may think that 10 is a bit more than 7, but note that after 30 years, the growth investor has twice as much money. The income investor only has 800,000. The growth investor has 1.6 million. That translates into double the retirement income from these investments. That is dramatically better life. Now, that's calculating only the first 30 years. If you invest from age 30 through your life to age 90, that's 60 years with exponential growth. So you'll actually have dramatically more than just double. Now, this is why we recommend investors invest for as much growth as they can tolerate. You need to be within your risk tolerance so that you don't panic and sell your investment after decline. Now, you have to stay invested to get to the exponential growth. But investing as close as you can to 100% equities gives you a much larger portfolio after 30 years and a far more comfortable life. Now, why is borrowing to invest so effective? So many people have come to us for help figuring out how to borrow to invest effectively. It's an exceptional wealth building tool for the right people, done the right way over the long term. Now, why do people that borrow to invest over many years usually end up with dramatically more money when they retire? So the power behind borrowing to invest is that the loan is linear interest while your investment is compound or exponential growth. This is because you pay your interest every month while your investments grow and compound over the year. So, for example, you borrow $100,000 for 30 years at 5% interest. The payment is $5,000 a year, or like $417 a month. After 30 years, you paid $150,000. Now, you invest this $100,000 for growth in equities, and let's say you average 10% a year for 30 years, you end up with a bit more than $1.6 million. Now, your investments grew from $100,000 to $1.6 million, while you paid only $150,000 in interest. And note that you have $1.6 million in investments, while the loan is still only $100,000. So borrowing to invest gave you an extra $1.5 million. That's before tax, which is huge. So this shows you the power of exponential or compound growth of your investments versus linear payments on your loan. So borrowing to invest is not for everyone. You only get the growth if you stay invested through all the ups and downs. However, borrowing to invest for many years is the most powerful way to grow a large retirement portfolio to give you a more comfortable life. Now, why should you learn to think exponentially? Much of the world today is growing exponentially. You need to learn to think exponentially to understand it and see what's going on. We see the difference comparing the finances of different people. The exponential thinkers tend to have dramatically more money. Now, first, often they earn much more because the careers where there is exponential growth often pay higher salaries. Then they invest for exponential growth and just have dramatically larger portfolios and dramatically more comfortable lives. Most wealthy people grew their wealth themselves. That's true of the multimillionaires and even the billionaires. And, for regular people, most wealthy people, we know lots of them, are just people over 50 who invested for growth for a few decades. So having a great future is not rocket science. It's just exponential thinking, living in an exponential world, and investing for exponential growth. Thanks for listening. What you learned today is, what is exponential thinking? What are some real-life examples? How does the rule of 72 help you? What is exponential growth, or why is exponential growth all around us today when it wasn't a few decades ago? Why does investing for growth give you many times more than investing for income? Why is borrowing to invest so effective? And why should you learn to think exponentially? Thanks for listening. My name is Ed Rempel. My blog is Unconventional Wisdom. It's just unconventionalwisdom.ca, or my name, that's the CA candidate, or it's my name, edrempel.com. That's the blog, podcast at YouTube. YouTube is edrempel.com/watch. Podcast is edrempel.com/listen. If you subscribe to them, all that means is you get a email every Thursday with my new post that you can watch if you find it interesting. So thanks a lot for listening, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you for listening. For more unconventional wisdom insights, follow this podcast, give it a review, and share it with your friends. Be the first to receive all my podcasts by subscribing to my email list at www.edrempel.com. My services and costs are at edrempel.com/help, and you can request a free 30-minute consultation at edrempel.com/talk. I often cover listener questions, so if you have a burning question or topic on which you'd like to hear unconventional wisdom, please ask or share feedback at edrempel.com/feedback. See you next week.